Okay, this is a presentation on the psychology of injury, and this is by Luciano Portela. So, what is an injury? An injury is trauma to the body that leads to temporary or permanent disability or loss of function. The injury could affect function in a way that changes their performance, which will lead to the injured person deciding whether or not they can continue playing. And here we have a picture of a kid who has an injury and a coach who is checking up on him. So I'm going to go through the causes of injury. So first we'll start off with the physical causes. So it could be caused by muscle imbalances, high-speed collisions, overtraining, fatigue, and other situations. But sports medicine providers emphasize the importance of physical preparation and fitness in preventing injuries as well as reducing environmental risks. So the environmental risk could include something like hazardous weather, so like hot or humid weather or rain or lightning. And also something else that coaches might want to look out for is, just for an example, if a football team is doing hitting drills, you want to, have players go with whatever teammate is of equal size or equal weight, so it's not an injury risk that way. Some of the social causes of injury could be playing through pain as a way to show toughness. This has been a part of sport culture for a very long time, and the effects of this are pretty damaging. In the past, this was viewed as a masculine ideology for some time. It was found after studies on female sports, particularly softball, that this is simply ingrained into just sport culture. Psychological causes of injury. There's a study for psychosocial factors, so kind of relating to the past slide, which explained up to 18% of the time lost due to injury. The evidence showed that psychological factors also play a key role in injury rehabilitation. Fitness professionals must also understand the concepts of psychology that go into athletic injuries for pretty obvious reasons. And here is a chart image explaining the psychological aspect of injury. So personal factor, history of stressors, coping resources, all factoring into the responses of injury and that lead up to an injury. There's also some personality factors that could lead to injury. Among the first psychological factors to be associated with injury, inconsistencies in the results of studies regarding personality has made it hard to decipher how much personality plays a role in injuries. So it's kind of hit or miss on how much personality really does factor into an injury. There was a study that showed by Ford, Eklund, and Gordon in 2000, and Smith. It shows that personality factors such as optimism, self-esteem, hardiness, trait anxiety do not play a role in athletic injuries. Do play a role in athletic injuries. However, this role is more complex than first thought because personality factors tend to moderate the stress-injury relationship. Some other reactions to an injury would include identity loss, fear and anxiety, lack of confidence, performance and decrements, and some group processes. So identity loss would be an important part of an athlete feels lost after not being able to participate in an activity. Fear and anxiety is the worry and fear during recovery process. Lack of confidence would be athletes sometimes lose confidence after injury, which can lead to a decrease in motivation and inferior performance, which can lead to overcompensation and injury. Performance and decrements. So many athletes have trouble lowering their expectations returning to play. So they expect them to automatically, just kind of just right back there and just be where they were at before, and that's not always really the case. It sometimes takes time to go back to where perform at the top level. Group processes. So returning athletes can disrupt the groove of the team that the team find themselves in. So if a team's playing really well and their star player goes down, and he's out for maybe a week, and they've played 3 games without him already, and they're kind of finding their groove without him, without their star player. That can maybe sometimes the return of that player can sometimes disrupt, that momentum that they've gained, how they played with each other. Some things to look out for for your athletes would be feelings of anger and confusion, obsession with the question of when one can return to play, so always wanting to come back to the game. Denial, like being, the injury is no big deal. Exaggerated bragging about accomplishments, guilt about letting the team down, and rapid mood swings. And so, a key part of injury would be obviously the rehab process and how the athlete can get back to play. Professionals increasingly use a holistic approach to healing both the mind and the body. Understanding the psychology of injury recovery is important for everyone involved in sport and exercise. The holistic approach, which again is mind and body, is highly recommended when rehabbing from injury. It is important to understand the process of psychological rehabilitation and recovery. And here to end it all, we have a little chart showing the injury or illness phase, going into the rehab and recovery phase, and now they're back to full activity.